Anish Dhawan, Regional Manager, North and East, VMware Software India. Shri Rajesh Kumar from Juniper Networks. And Ripu Bajwaji, a Director, Service Provider, EMC Data Storage Systems, India Private Limited. Now I invite Lakshmikant Tripathi, who is a consultant in SEMT and Directorate of IT Government of Maharashtra, to moderate this session.
Good evening to respected guests. I am Lakshmikant Tripathi, Senior Consultant for Data Center from DIT Government of Maharashtra. I am moderating this particular event session. I'll request our presenters to cut short the time, maybe for 10-15 minutes for presentation. Then, post this, we will have a panel discussion. Yeah, we'll start with the EMC. Yeah.
A very good afternoon, rather evening, to the esteemed audience, distinguished guests, a very, very elite list of delegates, presenters in the first half. It was a truly overwhelming session for me personally. While I've been with EMC 8.5 years, would like to share that this was a very, very enlightening session from our point of view, to get a first-hand perspective and how we can be more relevant as technology providers. The key message that we would like to share as infrastructure and technology company would be that how can we be more relevant, how can we be more addressing your current needs and your future projects with technologies which are truly innovative. How do we make it more and more user-friendly? How do we make it more and more easily manageable? The perspective that we would like to share today, as you all know, EMC has been in the domain of information infrastructure. We have been basically a storage company more than 30 years. However, the new perspective that we would like to share with the esteemed audience today here is how can we bring the technologies in a manner which can be used through the cloud model. We've all been hearing about the adoption of cloud. In the government scenario, it is even more because of the reasons that we know about data sovereignty. How do we really make sure when to make the decisions around private, hybrid, and public cloud adoption? So I'll touch upon those concepts and definitely would like to take as many questions as possible during the panel discussions. The agenda for me would be to share a little bit about the industry dynamics from EMC's perspective. How do we see the cloud market and the cloud adoption in various segments, including government? How do we look at the different world that we are living in today? How is it so very much impacted by the usage of software? Software-defined world is what we call. There is software touching everybody. Every one of us are, in a way, interacting so much of our daily time through devices, through PCs, through tablets, and it's all software-driven world that we live in. This is a catchy phrase that I've used. It's right from IDC. They use second and third platform these days. Would like to bring in the concept of third platform and the relevance around cloud adoption and technologies where we place very strongly. What are the motivations for cloud? And of course, certain considerations. Let me begin with some examples, not very much from a government point of view right now, but as I see it, the relevance is some of these companies have really changed using the software, the interfaces. For example, GE today is using, in one engine, they have close to 3,000 sensors. And each engine generates close to up to 10 terabyte of data per hour. And if you look at telemetrics, this is an important information which is so relevant from their point of view when they have to look at scheduled maintenance, look at crew allocation, look at bringing overall efficiencies in the system. And GE has been leading in this arena with something called as industrial internet. We have been seeing the power of industrial revolution first, then an internet revolution, and what GE is truly calling today is an industrial internet. How a percentage change in the efficiencies can bring overall cost savings, can bring about overall GDP growth also. We know about this car company called Tesla, which is launched an electric car, which is having a software interface which can actually simulate the driver experience. And you can, as sitting at home, have your customized maintenance. We know about Uber company, which is, brought the entire auto and taxi industry together. The passengers are able to utilize different models of car and use this service. It's prevalent in India as well, in Bangalore, in Delhi, in Mumbai. We are seeing Netflix has changed the way people have the entertainment experience altogether. There are companies like Nest, which are multi-billion-dollar today valuation. All they have done is use the software to customize a person's, using a thermostat, you have a very user-friendly interface to actually adjust the temperature of the room. And these companies are suddenly becoming very, very valuable. And you know about Flipkart today. It is actually giving a fight to Amazon as we read it in the papers. It's all software-driven world that we live in. So how do we really, as IT, look at adopting this change and how we can be ahead of the curve? As India, definitely with the initiatives that I heard today, we are right now at the cusp of launching a lot of things. The IT agenda today, if you see, is not just got to do with cost efficiencies, bringing out applications, faster time to market. It is all about looking at the entire plethora of information which is being dumped on them. There is a social, there is a mobile data, there is also the content which is generated by the employees. There is so much of a repository of information through various channels, ERPs, SCMs, all these, all the data which is relevant to a particular company, the way it interacts with its partners and its suppliers. If we see there is a need to have a data lake which will bring the insights out so that business decisions are based on that information. We have, as an information infrastructure company and software-led with VMware, which is our group company, we have been able to innovate a lot. Software-defined world that we live in, VMware has been leading with software-defined data center, and we'll have more information from them as well. EMC is very uniquely positioned to address most of this IT agenda as we see. Closely monitoring as a briefing, EMC is today a federation of 4 companies. It is loosely coupled, but strategically aligned to give the best of breed solutions to our customers so that they have more choice and control with them. As you can see, EMC has been in the business of information infrastructure and converged infrastructure, which is what we've been doing. We are your proud partners for UID project and many such government projects. As I heard from Mr. Agarwal also, that we have been big partners for the Maharashtra government data centers as well. I would like 1 minute of yours to look at Pivotal, which is a new company we have formed. It is a joint initiative between EMC and VMware. GE has already picked up 10% stake in Pivotal. And this is one company which is actually setting up the standards. If you can ask what is EMC doing different, this is what we are doing different. We are really trying to transform businesses. And Pivotal will play a strong role in that. It is going to take big data solutions, align and give them your developers and ISV players, application developers, wherever they are, a very easy to use platform so that they can develop applications much faster than what they're doing today. And of course, publish it on an enterprise-wide scale. And there are many solution areas, as you see, software-defined data center, platform as a service, workspace, mobile application integration. We have the framework for security analytics as well using RSA, which is a group company. And all of this can be given to our customers through various routes. One of the strongest routes that we are going to talk today also is going to be through the service providers. And service providers who are actually bringing multiple benefits of usage as creating these things as services for you will be critical because they will give you more choice, they will give you on demand so that most of the deployment is actually on usage, it's on OpEx and all the right tenets that you're looking for. This slide actually talks more about how the platforms are getting evolved. As we're seeing more and millions of applications coming forward, it is important that whatever was running 5 years back, that infrastructure also needs to transform. Whatever ERPs and SCM technologies we have used and they were running on a certain architecture earlier needs to be re-engineered. And this is what IDC calls as third platform. EMC is today rightly positioned when we see today the technologies that people use for the second platform, how do they really transform to a third platform? And this is something which is very rightly positioned for us. Why? Because as technology companies, we have been leaders in providing the best of breed architectures for such adoption, both on-premise. With third platform, through service provider route, we'll be able to give this off-premise as well. And there are technologies like Hadoop, object-based storage, converged infrastructure, and of course, having everything monitored really well within the infrastructure that you are having today in your data centers, as well as the public cloud setup. It is important that you are able to get, as a user, the complete control, the service, self-service portal features, all of that through the third platform as well. So, in nutshell, EMC along with RSA and Pivotal will be the bridge from the second to the third platform, and that's the promise that we make, that in terms of technology infrastructure, we'll be analyzing the workloads which need to go on the third platform. Not everything can move to the third platform. There will be a lot of things that you do today is definitely, from a TCO perspective, relevant to be kept in the data centers, and therefore they need to be kept there. However, as we see more and more, what are the parameters for cloud adoption? The top motivators have been, you can't afford in-house expertise, you look towards an OpEx model. You would like to have a data center for DR which is on the cloud, not own it yourself, do DR on demand or on usage basis. And of course, try to reduce your upfront cost. And we heard many panelists talking about the shift towards OpEx. And this actually talks about the growth in terms of public cloud services, and this is the role of the service providers. Now, how are we relevant? We can definitely partner with these service providers to get best of breed technologies so that as this market is becoming big, they are able to give you that resilience that you are seeing today in your data centers. You have questions about security, you have questions about whether you can get your data back, you have questions about whether you know where your data is lying. All that resilience can be brought in so that you have a seamless experience on public cloud as well. And that is where EMC will be able to bring the true benefits about private and public, which is what we call as hybrid cloud. And in this presentation, I just want to leave with one key thought, that as we see the data growing, both in private as well as in public cloud, we will be looking at bringing the tenets of a true hybrid cloud to you. And these are the 6 measures in which you can actually see that, yes, you have the benefits of public as well as private. One, you can have a choice of device for any application that you're rolling out to. You have your self-service portal so that your various business departments come to know how much they're using. They can actually see their backup happening. So it was as though they were doing it themselves. There's a standardization of services so that all that is getting deployed is on best of breed and it is seamlessly deployed. There is transparent pricing. This is something very important. Before you go onto a public cloud service, you should know how much will you get as a bill. How much is each service that you are actually looking for will be paid for by you. And then you also become a broker of services. IT as a service today, while it is being talked about, it is also getting implemented in a lot of organizations. But there are some challenges. These challenges are related to infrastructure and of course the way we have been deploying with software and leading that market. In nutshell, this is the key messaging that we have from EMC and VMware and Pivotal and RSA. We've been looking at storage layer, bringing the best of breed virtualization technologies on server, storage, as well as networking side. We've been looking at virtualized data centers. How can cloud storage be deployed between different geographies so that you have a true public cloud experience? And of course, finally being managed seamlessly across platforms, across devices. And this is something which we are doing as a software leader. In a nutshell, EMC hybrid cloud can be a great way to look at how you are adopting your applications, how you're going from second to third, what are the workloads that you need to look at to distribute between private, hybrid, and public cloud. In a nutshell, with respect to technologies and your go-to-market, if you see, this is where we come in as an infrastructure player, partnering with service providers, giving you a flavor of where on cloud you should be when you're looking at a complete technology planning. I just would like to stop here because I know there is a shortage in time. I'd like to cover some of these technologies. If you have some questions, definitely will be happy to take them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ripu. Hello. Yeah, thank you, Ripu. Question and answer sessions will be after this presentation, sir. Yeah. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Rajesh Kumar from Juniper Networks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Rajesh, I'm from Juniper Networks, and I'm the consultant for the data center and the enterprise networks. So today, as I heard a lot of sessions, it was really overwhelming, and I saw a lot of applications, apps being developed for the e-governance perspective, and how they're looking forward in terms of how citizens should not come to any of the government offices today, and they can access anything sitting from anywhere, anytime kind of these services. So primarily, I'll be focusing more on when you talk about these apps, when you talk about these applications, and when you talk about citizens not coming to government offices, when we talk about all this and when we hear about all this, but I just wanted to put some thoughts about where is this applications, apps going to reside, and how does this give you the user experience? Right? These are the things which we need to look at when we talk about these kind of changes what are happening, right? So from that perspective, what I want to say is today cloud is matured and customers have started adapting cloud in a very big way, right? And how many of you believe that cloud is really going to transform your business, right? I see that majority of you will be feeling that yes, cloud is the way to go ahead, and this is the way it's going to transform your business, the way you want to do it, and the way it wants to give your user experience. So that is where I want to start up. And also I want to focus more on, depending upon how you build your cloud services, how you build your, because when we talk about cloud, what is cloud? First of all, when we talk about cloud, virtualization, security, what is cloud? Cloud is nothing but data centers, right? We talked about consolidation of data centers. Now we are talking about cloud services. We are talking about Garage, which actually puts up together the SDCs all together so that you can have the application access. So many applications, so many apps being developed, which can be accessed anytime, anywhere by any of the citizens, G2C, G2G, G2B, whatever you want to. Right? This is what we are talking about, whether it can be a private, whether it can be a hybrid, whether it can be a public. It should be user transparent, right? How the user gets his experience and how you can have those apps, how you can store your data, how you can do analytics over those data, what is the value you can get out of the data which is being stored. The data which is stored is petabytes, right? Like huge. But how do you get some valuable information out of this data? For example, in healthcare, right? When I store the data, can I get some valuable information of the patient through this data which has been stored, which helps you to diagnose, which helps you to reduce, which helps you to make it faster, right? These are the things which happens at the background when we talk about all these apps and applications which are going to be given to the users and use it transparently, right? So interesting facts, that's what I was saying about. Out of 1358 global respondents, 49% see cloud as transformation to their business, right? 40% investigating, 5% don't see cloud, 6% still don't know. Because as EMC person told, that residual data, where it resides, when I get back the data, whether there is some data which is left which is not given to me. There are no things, we don't know, right? These are some of the key things which are actually this 5%, 6% of the customers who are not looking at the cloud, right? Another thing I wanted to talk about is when we talk about all this, we always forget one thing, that is security, right? Security is the key. When we talk about Aadhaar, when we talk about a lot of things like mapping Aadhaar to the bank account and doing M-banking, e-transactions, right? But you see so much of information of a person or a profile or whatever you call it as a posture has been stored, and that needs to be secured. When we talk about healthcare, we talk about EMR data records, digitized records. So these needs to be secured, right? Security is the key concern when we move towards cloud. Why I am saying this and why I am stressing this is that the security, what you look at from the perspective of the last couple of years back, is not the same security what you are going to look when you move towards the cloud or when you move towards the virtualization, right? Because there is a lot of difference, right? That today the attacks have been very sophisticated, and you will not know whether, when we have one good technology, when I go to the customers and ask them whether, do you know whether you have been attacked, they don't know, right? Either they know they have been attacked or they don't know they have been attacked. But when you put some tools into their networks, you know that they have been attacked, right? These are the things which are happening. So I wanted to make it very clear that please, whenever you build any kind of infrastructure or any kind of data centers or any kind of cloud initiatives, please look into security as one of the key concerns and try to, because today we are also seeing that there are a lot of budgets being put to security, right? So there are a lot of attacks, and as I want to talk about few words about security today, there is a lot of new technology which has come, which is known as a deception technology, right? What it means is whenever people want to access the web, there is some deception technology which helps you to collect the fingerprints of the hackers, more than 200 features of the fingerprints which you can capture and then load it into your database. Like Aadhaar, what we are doing is we are taking the fingerprints of the hacker and building a database. And tomorrow what helps you is if any hacker comes and attacks your network, you can just query the database in the cloud and say whether is this a hacker, right? And immediately it will map to those fingerprints and say yes, he is an hacker, and immediately you can push the policies throughout the network dynamically and stop that attacker coming in from any point of your network. This is what when we talk about cyber security. The days are gone what we were talking about firewall, IPSs, and these things what I talk about in terms of security perspective. Today people are talking about it, deception technologies, and also talking about fingerprinting the hackers, having the databases, mapping those databases, and then coming out with relevant information to say that he is the attacker or he is the hacker. Right? These are the things which you need to take care when you are trying to build the cloud services. And traffic volumes I don't want to talk about because the mobile applications, the e-applications, and so many applications, and there is a lot of traffic volumes which are going up, right? So now coming to the perspective of when you build a cloud, what you see when you build a cloud, like there is a compute virtualization happening, there is a storage virtualization happening, but have you seen network and security being virtualized? No. Right? When we talk about cloud, we only concentrate on virtualization using VMware or KVM or any kind of things. We only look at virtualization from the storage perspective, but we never look at the network and the security. But these are the foundation elements which will give you the user experience and which will help you to move the applications, whether it's a north-south direction or a east-west direction, right? So these are the key things which you need to look at. So challenge one, what I was talking about is the connectivity issues, because today when we talk about cloud, you need to understand one thing. When we say Aadhaar is mapped to bank account is mapped to something else, to the UID, to that, to this, and then the user gets the information what he wants to. But when where these transactions happen, and how this transaction happen, and what is the pace these transactions needs to happen, so that he gets in seconds, right? So these happen inside the data center, and we call it as a east-west direction, what the traffic and the transactions are going to happen. That means when you Google it, when you see the Google, it says that out of 25 bytes, 5 bytes goes out of the data center and 20 bytes remains inside the data center. That means to say when you adopt cloud solutions, the traffic within the data center increases enormously. Right? Because you have virtualization, you have VMs, you have put the applications in a distributed world. Now these guys have to interact each other and come out with the required information to the user. So the east-west direction traffic is increasing. So these are the things which you need to take care. I'm just saying, I'm pinpointing that when you adopt for the cloud services, please take care of this. Otherwise, you will not be able to scale out the cloud services tomorrow if you want to add more and more services onto it. So scale out model is very important, and these things has to be taken care when you build this kind of cloud services. So I'll not go deep into this, so I have spoken about it. So there are solutions which reduces the complexity, and for example, this is the one which I was talking about. So when a packet has to move from one server to another server, then it takes a longer time. Sorry, I didn't have, sorry. So there is animation, but I don't want to. So it takes a longer time, it takes multiple hops, there is delay, there is latency. So these things come up in the data center. So when you build a cloud, there is an architecture which is known as a fabric architecture. That means you connect any server to any server, or any server to any storage, or any server to any security within the data center as a single hop solution. So there may be 7,000 servers in your data center, but any server talking to any server will be a single hop solution. Any server talking to the storage will be a single hop solution. Any server talking to any storage will be a single hop solution. When you build these kind of solutions, then you can talk about user experience. Then you can talk about scale out model kind of things. And then you can talk about cloud. That is what I'm saying about, right? So that is coming from the connectivity, how you address your east-west direction of the transactions, what you want to have, and how you can build the user experience. Now when you talk about security, that's what I was telling. When you virtualize your network, the security, it has a paradigm shift. You cannot look at the security what you are looking 2 years back. That is what I'm saying. It is like a castle model. In a castle, what used to happen is one server, one application, I put one policy to stop the traffic coming into that server. But today it is not so. One server has multiple applications, right? How do you stop it? You can't create a perimeter, right? So what we call it as a hotel model. In a hotel, if you see, like here, there are a lot of people who come in, use the same rooms, but different people have different kinds of requirements, and that is satisfied by the hotel. Right? In the same way, in the virtualization world, you host many applications, you host many apps, you host a lot of things into the data center, but you need to provide security respective to those applications, to those hosting services. If you don't do that, then you can't provide a cloud service model, right? That is the key thing which you need to look at when you look at the cloud. How can I give security as per the customer or as per the application requirements? I can't put a big firewall there and say everyone go there, I do this policy, I stop this and I allow this. No, today this cannot be done, right? Because of the applications what you use, because of the apps what people are using about, when we talk about G2C, G2B, there are different requirements. And you need to build those security policies in your cloud services to address those kind of policies, right? So there are a lot of solutions, like I don't want to go deep when I talk about SDN. So the other one which is coming up in the cloud is the SDN, and there is network function virtualization, what we talk about NFVs. Today, if you see a server with multiple VMs, have you seen that, have anyone looked at when the traffic moves from one VM to another VM, is there any policy being defined? Or do you check the traffic when it goes from one VM to another VM? You only check when the traffic moves from one server to the another server, right? That is where the problem comes in. These are all the black holes which you need to plug in when you talk about cloud services model, right? The segmentation capabilities, the customizable capabilities. For example, if the traffic is A, then what are the services which I need to provide so that the packet is opened once, it goes to those services and comes out and gives the user experience. Traffic B or a customer B, different policies, dynamic policies. So these are the things which are coming in the virtualized world and when we talk about cloud services, right? So I don't want to go deep because I don't have time, but these are the security concerns which needs to be addressed in the virtualization world, and these are being addressed, and I request to look at those security parameters when you try to deploy the cloud, right? These are the things which I just wanted to discuss. These are what we call it as NFVs. There are a lot of distributed NFVs coming in. For example, you want to build a state WAN, right? Then you can decide whether a firewall policy has to go to the panchayat and IPS policy has to go to the district, and there should be some application level security which should go to the data center. You can distribute this sitting centrally at one location. This is known as distributed network functionalities. So there are a lot of technologies, there is a lot of disruptive technologies, there are a lot of innovations which have happened. Once, I know that coming from apps and applications, but the second as a company of Juniper, coming from the infrastructure, network, security perspective, right? And finally, then once you have all this, the two things which matters, as I was talking about, is big data analytics and how you have your logs, how you do the risk analysis, and how you do your vulnerabilities on your cloud. So these things needs to be taken care, right? Unless you don't know what is the vulnerabilities in your network, unless you don't know what is the risk which is happening in your network, then there is no way you can control what is coming in and what is going out of the network. So there are tools which you can deploy and then see what is the risk analysis, what is the vulnerabilities, how I can take care, how I can plug in. It gives you at least the information that these may be the attacks which are happening into your network. These may be the IP addresses which are creating problems to you. These may be the ones where applications are going to be attacked. So you get a fair idea, right? Saying that, okay, my network is vulnerable at certain places and at certain levels. So you can do and go back and fill those gaps into it. So this is where I was talking about. So what we talk about is all high IQ networks, SDN. What SDN gives you? It gives you faster way of managing and configuration and those kind of things, orchestrating the entire data center, whether it's a compute, whether it's a storage, or whether it's a network, right? This is what SDN talks about. So just to the end to this, what are the critical things I wanted to talk about solving the problem is to have the best-in-class security and scale-out model of the data centers where you can take the cloud services and provide that user experience and also provide anywhere, anytime access to the citizens. So thank you. That is what my presentation ends up. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Rajesh. Next is Mr. Anish. I'll request Mr. Anish to take over this from VMware.
And he's also, I think, Special Secretary of Department of IT in Government of Haryana. So he's come down from Haryana for this event. We are very thankful, sir, for this. And I request sir to be a part of this discussion. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Anish. Unfortunately, I don't have a very technical presentation to present here, right? But I think that's what the ask is, right? Because cloud computing as a word, while we've been through the journey to begin with, is more abused, right, than used. That's used more by the vendors themselves, right, than the actual users of that. The topic here was on security, right? And it's an ironic situation that people who adopt cloud is because they find it secure, and one of the biggest prohibitors for adopting cloud computing also happens to be security. So I'm just going to talk about few factors which people think about as security, and they are more in simplistic terms, right? So if you look at security, there is a security from a user perspective. We've got many departments here who would be possibly using cloud computing, right, which is being provided by a state data center. Now they're the consumers of the services that a cloud generates. They have their own sets of security issues that they should think about. Then there are people from state data center who actually deliver these services. They have another set of security issues that they need to cater, which also so the security issues which an end user has is normally a subset of what the security issues that these guys think about. And then there are operational issues, which are again a responsibility of the guy who's overall responsible for delivering these services, though he's just delivering it from the data center, but he needs to coordinate with every person involved in delivering those services. So there is a cloud alliance worldwide of all leading technology providers who provide technologies for delivering services, right? And they work with most of the cloud service providers worldwide. Last year, when they did an analysis, right, of the biggest threats that they see, these are the top 9 which came out. This pure, simple English words, right? Data breaches. What happens if my data gets lost? So there's a department who's subscribing to these services, right, from a state data center, right? And obviously you've got citizens' data that you're dealing with, which is important, right? It gets lost. Are there factors around that? That was number 1 threat, not just for the government cloud service providers worldwide. Second is data loss. You yourself encrypt the data and you lose the key. You send it to the cloud. So what is cloud basically? So when I started learning about cloud computing about 4 years back, right? So this very simple definition which one person which gave me was that where do you feel more secure keeping your money, bank or your own home? I said obviously in bank. He says just think about keeping your data in a similar fashion. Where would you want to keep it? With the experts who know how to manage data, how to secure data? Or would you want it to keep it within your own perimeter, thinking that you have got it secured, but potentially a loss could come from anybody else? So when people upload this data themselves, they've got to be careful. So there is a loss, threat loss. There could be a disaster which has happened because of which the data gets lost, right? So which is another loss which goes as part of the security. The third one, which is a very interesting one, right? And it has happened with, if you think about the best cloud service provider today itself, right, whoever worldwide, they've actually faced this security threat and have also succumbed to it, is your service traffic hijacking. You take space with a data center, with a state data center, and you're delivering it because you yourself are not consumer of that service. You are a department who's delivering a service to a citizen, but what you're doing is you're kind of outsourcing your IT to the state data center. Now, you are intermediary. Here is the service getting generated. There is governance. There is your intelligence that you're delivering to an end citizen. Somebody hacks into your system and takes control of your services. This is the biggest threat that people see. I mean, a person is supposed to be, he's clicking on the URL that you are pointing him to be, but he's going somewhere else, right? And this is what hackers do. There is something called channel sidelining, which is very simple. You have your server running on one of the cloud service providers. He will take a parallel server, possibly on that, and they have algorithm written through which they can actually come into your server and control your credentials. An important thing, now this is not to throw in any level of insecurity or fear of any kind. All I'm trying to say is that you've got to know what you're getting into. And you've got to be like any other, like you spend your own money, like you take discretionary decisions, you've got to be very careful with whom you start working with and figure out the credentials. Obviously, right, if these guys know their job, they would have already thought about this. Malicious insiders. Now this, not many people can do anything about. If there's a crook in the system somewhere, right, and he wants to play havoc, he can do that. But what the service providers got to do is, got to be very careful that how fast can I stop this guy in case he decides to play a prank internally. Abuse of cloud services. Interestingly, while you're providing cloud services, a hacker who does not have sufficient amount of servers with themselves or infrastructure to create havoc, because the cost is very high, very prohibitive, he can actually, because this is an OpEx model, can just take 500 servers on your cloud, create the issue that he wanted to, and go ahead with, because the cost is very less. And most importantly, the last two, insufficient due diligence. Now, this is where the responsibility of security also comes on the consumer of the service themselves. Many a times, right? We just walk on. ये भी cloud computing कर रहे हैं, ये भी कर रहे हैं, अरे आप भी डाल दो यार उधर, डाल दिया. उनको तो पता था वो क्या कर रहे हैं, आपको पता भी नहीं था आप क्या कर रहे हो. And you end up signing SLAs, right, which you don't know what will it land you into. So it is very important. You don't have to get to the depth of the technology, obviously, right? If I buy an air conditioner, I need to know this is the temperature range it works. Be sure of the deliverables you want from them. And be sure as an ignorant person, right? They will try to educate you. Look, we are doing this, this, this. You just got to close your eyes to that. You say, this is what I want. How you do it is your problem. And when you sign an SLA or when you sign an agreement with any cloud service provider, whether public, right, or whether any department, right, be sure, because at the end of the day, this is business, right? Even running government is a business within itself. You might not be earning it on a profit basis, but you're running a huge conglomerate, right, where you're supposed to deliver services. And I think the SLAs are more important here, right? And that is the basis for improving the experience. If you stick to the SLAs and the SLAs are delivered, that is when the experience really starts turning around. So it is very important for you to understand that when you are working with a partner who is a state data center, could be an IC data center, could be anybody else, right? You're very sure of the SLAs that you would want from them, right? And obviously there are shared technology vulnerabilities. These are more important for the people who deliver these services, right? Now the question comes that what does VMware do around this, right? So VMware as a company, right, is an infrastructure service provider, right? We provide agile infrastructures. Now, where we help our partners who deliver cloud services is the point is, suppose there is a security threat or there is a security intrusion which happens. How ready is your infrastructure? How agile is your infrastructure to capture it at that point and stop it there and stop it before it spreads out? That is the operational part of the security threats. Right? So we help data centers, right, become much more agile, not just from a compute perspective, right, which is servers, not just from storage perspective, also what Rajesh was talking about, the security and network perspective. So we provide the technology. We not the cloud providers ourselves, right, but we provide this technology which help probably serve your data center, for example, right? So suppose you decide to get onto this journey, there are certain basic things that you should be in place so that you have a security threat. How do I handle this? How agile is my infrastructure, right, is where we come into picture, right? So if you go the little unfortunate, probably amber, and if very unfortunate, probably a lot of red lights, right? Now this is how it looks like. From the look of it, right, it looks inflexible, it's not agile, right? Thereby, if you want to make any change in this infrastructure, right, the amount of complexity that you'll get into and the plumbing that you need to get into is fairly high. So Mr. Rastogi said, why can't we simplify it? Yes, there is a way of simplifying, right? You can take help from, in fact, Mr. You yourself are running a data center, right, in Maha Online, and you could see that while we mask a little bit of complexity, the complexity is only relegated to an operator who's working on our software, but for others it actually becomes much more simpler to use, right? And it becomes service-based, catalog-based. A person like me who is not so tech-savvy, who understands simple English, can decide this is what I want for myself. I want compute which is going to run this service. It should have this much amount of high availability. That is very easy for anybody to understand. You can devise, okay, this network, right, will remain up for 99.9% time. This is the level, platinum level of security is what I want. Let that platinum level get defined by your IT guy. But then you can define that this is the security because this is one of my critical projects that are going on, right? From a dashboard, I can select that this security I want for my applications or the services that I'm going to run. You just click on that. It is like saying that I'm sure everybody of us uses an email, right? So when you go to subscribe to one of the free email service providers, do you really go and configure email service? Obviously not, and you don't have to be bothered about that. That's how IT should be consumed. You leave the complexity to the people, right, in the data center to actually run it. You just work on this. But for this to happen, right, you need to have the fair bit of agility beneath. Otherwise, you need a lot of people to do that for you. Right? So, on a very broad level, perimeter security is important, right? Your networks have to be secure. The hosts which actually deliver these services have to be secure. Just don't go by what's written on the right side. Just figure out the left portion, which is very important for them, and how do I make my data secure, right? And this is called the depth in which you actually define security. I would not want to get into the technical part, but look, if you were to look at this is how it gets defined. You know, your hardware lies in between, and that's when you start working your security levels around it. So fairly simple, right? Just ensure that the software that you're deploying on that hardware, which is making it agile, is fully compatible, has the highest level of security for you, right? That's what you got to go with. When you look at the next level, right, bigger the software, bigger the issue. More the number of codes, easy to hack, right? It is like saying that you're firing a bullet, you're firing at a smaller target, it's difficult, right? Bigger the target, easy to blow it away, right? So your software to a hacker is like that. If there's a lot of code inside, right, it is very big for them to see, and they can actually fire anywhere in that. And the smaller the footprint becomes of the software, it becomes more agile and difficult to get targeted, right? Multiple levels of security criteria, very easy for you to figure this out, right? Whatever softwares you use, just look, right, what is the level of security that it has gone through testing, what are the references available, has it been tested worldwide, for various security agencies. We all know, right, and this is not a wrong fact to put, that the security agencies outside India, quite a few of them, right, are much more enabled when it comes to looking at software, and because they've already gone through the process which we are going through now, and they know how to ensure that, you know, this software has passed this level of test. That's very easy to figure out, and that can be done, right? Already covered by Rajesh, I'll not cover this, right? Your network has to be agile, right? Very simple. But more importantly, when your network becomes agile, what do you actually get out of it, right? This is what I wanted to show you. Now these, what you're seeing here, are cluster of applications which you are actually delivering your services on. One is orange, one is green, and one is blue. One is database, one is application. The third one is the web enabling layer through a web server. Now these are the services which are getting delivered. Very important when you start looking at these agile infrastructures, right? And when you look at these virtualized infrastructures, what starts happening is, suppose, let me try and pick on an example from MP Online, right? So you are actually delivering a certain set of services which are becoming very critical for only a small period of time. So you need a lot of compute at that time only to feed that particular application. Now one of the best ideas to do is have a lot of servers, very easy to figure out, and continue to power that. But after that, those servers are underutilized. So what people tend to do, and what Sir has already done to a very fair extent, is actually share that load across multiple applications, that resources. Now when you start doing that and multiple applications continue to float, which is what you're seeing below, right? There are 3 servers which are and their related networks, all of it is actually abstracted from the applications. Applications are being given only the resources that they need to run. Now what starts happening is this application sometimes is taking resources from server A, and in a more leaner time, it actually moves to server C, which is much smaller, and application A, server A is delivering another application which is needing more resources. Now when the applications float like this, does your security also float along with them? Right? Very important to think. If you virtualize security and you start looking at security or vendors who can actually, and everybody provides it. All I'm saying is that when you look at this, just be a little futuristic, and you could actually talk to the vendors, do you have this? And they would tell you, yes, we have it. Then you choose that instead of the ones which are traditional in approach and where you get the better prices and more discounts, because they also want to get away with that with as many people so that they can do away with their own inventory. Right? So it continues to move, and so does the security along with it, which is much more dynamic way of looking at this, right? And obviously today, you know, surprisingly, you would know, while we still deploy antiviruses in our laptops, right? But in a cloud model, you really don't need to have antiviruses in your laptops, right? you could actually, or in your servers, physical servers that we put in, right? If you're delivering desktop as a service or consuming desktop as a service, right? The antivirus can run in the cloud there itself and ensure whatever gets delivered to you is pristine and clear. Very simple. And we don't do it, partners do it, and all of them have solutions which can actually make this run for you. And obviously, from a compliance perspective, again, like I said, these are more relevant to the people who deliver services, who run data centers, right? Very important for you. If you're changing a compliance, right, in your data center and you want to run it, there are softwares which can actually scan and let you know immediately that this is all compliant. Suppose any of the departments delivering medical services is to be compliant to, let's say, HIPAA, right? Though I will doubt right now, but in case it is, there are standard templates. You can actually just run it in the cloud and it will immediately tell you all these are compliant to what you wanted to do. So biggest issues which at least the private vendors are when IT audits happen, right? So suddenly the CIO, the IT manager, everybody is into just auditing their own environment which they built, whether they built it right or not, whether it is sticking to particular rules or not, right? So, and a lot of time goes in that, probably 15 days, 20 days. The easiest is build a compliance matrix, run it, right? And the software scans that for you and lets you know. That kind of brings me to the end of what I wanted to talk about, but the more important part is when we talk about SLAs, which is infrastructure, which is what most of the cloud service providers do, right, and which would be the case here as well, right, then it becomes much more easier in terms of movement of data and the way you would want to look at. So in your first option that you were asking, right, what is the issue for this transferability? Honestly, I cannot answer you straight on like this till I actually get to see how this whole thing is working, and I can immediately answer you after that, this is, but if you centralize it, obviously it becomes much more simpler, right? And then it is being delivered from one data center, so the data just moves in the data center, which is interconnected with high data pipes, and becomes very easy to move. For example, we were doing virtualization of one of the applications, right, with one of the service providers, and that application was supposed to run in Pune, right? And then we realized that the DR was being built in Delhi for the same application. The operators were working out of Delhi. They were managing the data center sitting in Delhi, right, of the Pune. Servers were running there. Finally, we realized that it will always be better if we could actually move the primary site back to Delhi and let Pune be the DR. Though the consumers, right, of that services are in the Pune region, right, but it is actually getting hosted out of that place. So what also becomes important is that placement of infrastructure is no longer relevant for the services, because it is getting delivered over the web in case your services are like that. And when they are getting delivered, how you place data centers, right, is an architectural decision which you should leave to the service provider to decide. You should only look at the SLA that you're looking at.
Thanks the presenters.
I would love to
Thank
add
you.
something to sir.
Sorry.
Sir, other departments need not to use that same cloud center. They will have to use a portal or whatever web page which is connected to that cloud only, but they do not need to have any connection with that cloud. So they can use their own portal and own software. And transferability is also possible if their portal allows connectivity with that cloud, then transferability is possible. Yes, sir. Real time.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. You can start next.
Thank you, sir. I thank all the panelists. Now I request our eminent guest, Shri Ashok Sangwan, Managing Director, Heartron, to present mementos to all the panelists. First to Shri Anish Dhawan, Regional Manager, North and East, VMware Software India. A big round of applause for our speakers. Then the next speaker, Shri Rajesh Kumar. And then the next speaker, we have Mr. Ripu Bajwa. And now our moderator, Lakshmikant Tripathi. Lakshmikant ji, thank you very much for moderating it. I would like, sir, to please present a memento to Lakshmikant Tripathi. I would request Dr. Ravi Gupta to present a memento to Shri Ashok Sangwan ji, Managing Director, Haryana State Electronics Development Corporation Limited. So we are very thankful to you to make it to this event. And we are requesting panelists for a group photo with their mementos. That will be good.